Hi, everyone. I'm Raani,
And I'm Jessica,
and you're listening to Clean With Me.
the podcast where we walk you through cleaning your house.
Thanks for joining me. In today's episode, we are going to be doing a whole house pickup. Now, if you don't have anything on the floors anywhere in your home, this episode will still work because what I'll have you do is tackle some hot spots or clutter magnets, as I call them. Fly Lady, who I've been listening to for 20 years, calls them hot spots. I call them clutter magnets. I'm talking about things like desks, nightstands, shelf units, countertops, bathroom vanities, you name it, those surfaces in your home where things are piling up that don't belong. However, if you have clutter on the floor of your home, that is going to be the priority. So hopefully that makes sense. It's time to gear up for our cleaning session. Maybe you need to get your house smelling nice. Maybe you need to light a candle. Or maybe you want to get yourself presentable. Put your hair up real quick and change into something comfortable yet presentable, or run a brush through your hair. Jessica puts her hair up to clean. I do sometimes clean with my hair down, probably more often than not. I just like to run a brush through my hair and use some type of spray and wash my face and kind of get presentable that way. But we all have different things that we do to feel good about ourselves. There may be a lot of clutter at this time of year. You know, Christmas, you may have had guests with kids, or you may have just been maybe neglecting your bedroom, leaving things on the floor because you've been gone, on the go a lot. Or like I said, you might just have surfaces that have attracted clutter over time. But you would be amazed at how much clutter you can pick up in 15 minutes. I think sometimes we focus so much on the sanitary aspects of cleaning our home, like getting the dishes done, wiping down counters, and, cleaning the bathrooms and whatnot. And those are of the utmost importance. But it feels so good to rid your surroundings of clutter. Okay. And of course, if you're picking up clutter off of the floor, I recommend that you vacuum or sweep after the episode, maybe while listening to a couple of your favorite songs. Depending on how big your house is, you may need a few more songs. So anyway, I'll give you about a minute longer in case you have some preparation to do. I mentioned getting your house smelling good. Sometimes a big part of that is taking out the trash. I know that the wax in my wax warmers is a little bit old, and I'm planning to change that out here shortly. So, something that I did yesterday to kind of get some clutter under control, my clean laundry pile in my bedroom was growing because I've been so busy. And I went back to work yesterday. If you're a regular listener, you know I work remotely, but work is work. And so I folded and put away a lot of laundry while on my lunch break, and that made me feel way more in control. So that felt good. And I just like seeing things hanging up in the closet and knowing that I can get ready in a pinch. And also, I am going to a wedding this weekend, an out-of-town wedding, and I'm going to need to quickly pack, and having everything hanging up on display will make that job easier. My husband's always like, why do you make such a big deal about packing? I can put my stuff in a suitcase in 5 minutes. Well, a lot of thought goes into it when you're a lady, I guess, with what you're wearing on a trip. And, there are usually backup outfits involved. Let's face it. I definitely recommend bringing extra shoes and a backup outfit and all the things. So anyway, let's get into our cleaning session. Let's start at the front entrance of your home. For some of you, that may be the main area that needs to be picked up. If, walking right into the living room type situation, you may have a lot of clutter in that room, especially if you have small children or pets. But I realize we are not all in that season of life. For some of us, the cluttered floor might be in our bedroom, or again, it might be more of a cluttered surface issue. During this visit, the top of my piano is getting super cluttered because it's like we're putting things out of kids' reach. I've been babysitting. My grandson just went home because Jessica's helping over there. He's 19 months. And so I've been watching him while his mom was in the hospital. She was, they were trying to stop her contractions and whatnot before she had the baby. So there were a lot of things placed on the piano to get them out of reach, or things that we needed to take to the hospital or to her house, because that is kind of my launch pad where I put things. So I definitely need to remove some clutter from the piano. My bedroom has also kind of taken a turn for the worse. I did clean it before the guests arrived, but yeah, it's gotten cluttered just with all the chaos that's been going on. So I do recommend you starting at the front, whether you have a little to do or a lot. Maybe you have some items when you're done, like picking up the living room. You might have some items in your kitchen on the countertop that need to be put away. Maybe the table. Let's talk about tables. And this isn't an episode where you'll be cleaning exactly along with it, because everybody's situation is different. I just want you to be up and moving and putting things away in your home for the entire episode. What was I talking about? Oh, tables. Years ago, and I may have told this story once before, but years ago when I was a preteen, maybe, or a teenager, I would say I was 11, 12, or 13. That doesn't matter, but I spent the night at a friend's house, and their family had been going to some type of a home church or something. Felt a little cultish, like every man there had a beard or whatever. No offense if that's something you're into. But anyway, that's not important to the story. But we had to go over to someone's house for some type of like Bible study. But what was weird is like the kids weren't even like there for it. Like we were just sent to the back to kind of hang out during this meeting or whatever. But on the way back to the bedroom where the preteens or teens, young teenagers would be hanging out, we walked through the kitchen. So there was a front room, which was really clean. It had couches, and people were sitting on the couches for this, religious meeting of some sort. And if you continued on, though, you'd go into the kitchen, and there was a dining area, either connected to the kitchen or right inside of it. Really stands out in my mind because I had never seen a house like this. Again, the living room was normal, couches, coffee table, whatever you'd expect in a living room. But in the kitchen and dining area, every surface was covered with clutter. It wasn't dirty dishes or anything like that. It was just stuff. And I remember the table, the stuff on top of the table reached almost to the ceiling. And it included a lot of board games. Like who has that many board games that can't be placed into a cupboard or on a shelf somewhere? But it was neat things like in boxes. Board games is just the only example I can really remember, but it wasn't like, and I had never seen anyone living like this. Now, don't get me wrong. Of course, I'd been to houses of people who had small children, kind of trashing the house and dirty dishes and toys and spills. I'd seen all that, but I had never seen a house with adults and maybe, a teenager where they had just covered every surface. It was super weird. And not just that every surface was covered, but how high it was stacked. The kitchen counters were also just completely stacked with stuff in boxes. And not boxes, oh, maybe they were moving. No, not those kind of boxes. I'm talking about like the original board game boxes and things. Just things that they had accumulated. And it did not by any means look like they were moving. It looked like this was how they lived. So just throwing that out there. But I'm not against keeping a few things on the table. I think it's totally normal to have like a puzzle going at the end of a table. Or for us, usually my teenage daughter is doing artwork at the end of our kitchen table. I kind of like her to do it in there over the tile in case there's a spill or something. She has her little paints and her little, water cup for the paint brushes and whatnot. Of course, when I knew my 4 and 6-year-old granddaughters were coming to visit. This was before I knew the baby was coming early, and I was also going to be watching my 19-month-old grandchild, who's a grandson. But even before that, just preparing for the 4 and 6-year-old, okay, we're not going to have these paints and stuff out. That's going to get put away. So the only painting she does is in her room with her easel, and she has a lock on her door. But just in our everyday life as a household where the youngest member of our household is 12 and a very mature 12 at that, we can have a little painting station at the end of the table. But I just have a rule, keep it to one place setting. That way we can sit down and eat dinner. Not that we always sit at the table as a family. We need to get better about that. But there's enough room for our family of 5 to eat at this table that seats 6. And when I say family of 5, I have 3 kids. My 3 youngest, I have a total of 6 kids. My 3 youngest are still living at home. So in that sense, we're a family of 5. So I kind of have that rule, like one place setting or whatever, but that changes when we're having company. Obviously, Thanksgiving, Christmas, things of that nature, or just having friends over for a barbecue or whatever. We don't do it very often, but it does happen once in a blue moon. Then obviously that table gets completely cleared. But you may have a different standard and you may want your table clear at all times. Another reason why I allow it is the table is not visible from the front room or front door. There's kind of a wall in the kitchen that has an opening, and then the table is back there, but yeah, you can't really see it. So another thing about tables, and just be picking up clutter from around your house. I feel like I already gave you enough ideas. Pick up your floor, starting at the front entrance, work your way all the way back to the bedroom and pick up in there, or start tackling those surfaces in your home that have clutter. Maybe it's a shelf unit, a kind of an open shelf below the china cabinet portion of your hutch. Maybe a little table that's by your front door, your launch pad, so to speak, if you don't do the piano thing that we have. But yeah, just be picking up while I object of tables. And I said 15 minutes, but we had kind of an introduction, so I'm going to go to around 20 minutes. The time can vary due to editing, but yeah, the entire episode should be around 20 minutes because I'm wanting to give you around 15 minutes to pick up, and I feel like I kind of had like a 5-minute introduction there. So keep picking up. Another thing on tables, I'll just tell you a little story. There's not really a punchline here, but when my husband and I first got married, that stage where you're young and you don't care a lot about decorating. I mean, some people could be different. I feel like my 14-year-old daughter will probably be, intensely decorating her house from day one when she gets her own place because she's really into decorating her room. And obviously as teenagers, we hang things up in our room or whatever. But in general, sometimes when you're young and just starting out, you're not as concerned about decorating your house or even how your house looks. It's more like about your own appearance, I guess. Like your money's going to go into like clothes and stuff. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but that was my experience. our first apartment, a lot of our decorations were things that my mother-in-law had gifted us. Like, oh, this is cool. Let's hang this up. We liked the stuff, but it wasn't like we were going out buying a ton of decorations. We did get a few things though. Like, I remember we had that footprints poster that we picked up at a flea market or something, and that was in our dining room. But a lot of our furniture and decor had been just kind of given to us. And, it was fine. But one thing that we did go out and buy is a light blue tablecloth, matching napkins, and napkin holders. And then I think someone had gifted us candles. And I just absolutely loved having just that tablecloth with the cloth napkins and the little rings and then the candlesticks perpetually on our little round table in the apartment. And we'd have these little romantic dinners and everything. Obviously, at some point, when our oldest daughter, Jessica, who's a co-host on the show, became a toddler, the tablecloth was no longer possible. They get to that age where they're going to yank the tablecloth. Okay, but then once they're past that age and they get out of the high chair, then they're sitting at the table and they're spilling a lot, so you just want a bare table because it's easy to wipe off. So we never really got back to that tablecloth stage, although I don't think it's important anymore. And I don't know if we'll ever get back to that stage. Now my tablecloths are reserved for things like Christmas, Thanksgiving, and some birthday parties. Sometimes when I have a birthday party, I'll do a disposable tablecloth that matches the theme or whatever. But I keep a bare table with a centerpiece and candles, but to where it's easy to wipe down. So, yeah, I don't know. I was just thinking about that when I was thinking tables. So, anyway, little things sometimes can really, help you enjoy your home, whether it's, napkin holders and a tablecloth or something else. Another thing that I think about when I think about how it's easy to clean a bare table and just be picking up clutter in your home while I talk. In the 80s and 90s, it was just the norm to have these carpet covers. The toilet seat lid had a cover that was kind of like a carpet material. And then there was the little matching rug that went around the base of the toilet, which was obviously to keep your feet warm when you were sitting on the toilet in the wintertime. But I remember, as kind of a newlywed reading a book about housekeeping or something. It was called How to Avoid Housework. I don't remember the author or anything, but I still remember some tips I learned from that book. But one of the things that it mentioned was, you should do away with these toilet seat covers and excess rugs, and maybe it didn't say to do away with the rug, I'm not sure, but for sure it said to do away with the toilet seat cover. And I remember, and just have a bare toilet. And I remember thinking that was kind of a radical idea. But now when you go to people's houses, maybe you have a 90-year-old grandma with a toilet seat cover, but most people are not doing that anymore. But it seemed kind of radical at the time to get rid of that. And I don't think my husband even wanted to get rid of it. But anyway, just times change. Also, I've noticed nowadays a lot of people do not hang anything on their walls, when they get an apartment. I thought that was mandatory. I wasn't trying to spend all my money on that. Like I said, I was more interested in my appearance than the appearance of my home, as a young adult. But I definitely had a large picture over the couch as a focal point. And I'm still the same way, but I've noticed decorating is not a huge priority for a lot of people, and some people don't really hang anything on the walls. But I guess I'm old school like that. I'd rather hang up something from a thrift store or, from my mom or mother-in-law than just have a totally bare wall. but that's just me. No judgment here if you're different. So hopefully I've given you time to just rush around picking stuff up. I hope you got something out of this episode. I'll be creating a bonus episode soon, probably when my guests leave here in a couple days. But again, we've just had a lot going on, and it's been chaotic, and I just went back to work yesterday. So I'm going to be clocking on to my day job soon. Special thanks to our financial supporters. By the way, I'm going to be doing another Walk With Me episode soon. So if you had a New Year's resolution to move more or lose weight, I think you'll like those episodes where I talk you through walking around your neighborhood or even on a treadmill. But I do it outdoors because, let's face it, the fresh air and the sunshine will do you good. So ideally, you want to get outside. I understand if you have small children that you can't, take outside, but bundle them up and put them in a stroller. In Nordic countries, they do take the babies out in the cold in the strollers and even have them take naps outside, which, seems kind of crazy to us, but it also means you can take your kids for a walk in the stroller during the wintertime. So anyway, I hope you got something done during this episode. Now it's time to vacuum, sweep, or maybe even dust before you vacuum and sweep as a finishing touch. I appreciate each and every one of you. Just listening to the show helps. Even, if you're not able to go the extra mile and support the show, I am super grateful for you. Happy cleaning, and I'll talk to you soon.